How long do you think it takes to become fluent in English? My answer, it depends. Depends on what, I hear you say. Depends on your habits. Some sources say it takes 600 hours of focused learning to reach functional fluency. Functional fluency basically means you can work in an English speaking environment, watch movies and TV shows without needing subtitles, and talk about complex topics without many challenges. You might be thinking, wow, 600 hours sounds like a long time. It is and it isn't. 600 hours is an hour a day for a little more than a year and a half, or 2 hours a day for 10 months. Compared to your entire life, it's not a lot of time. You might be panicking right now. You might be thinking, can I stay motivated for that long? The short answer is no, you can't. Does that mean you can't become fluent? No, you can totally become fluent, but you won't become fluent because of motivation. Walk with me, I'll explain. Here's what happens when you first want to learn English. You buy a new textbook, download a fancy app, maybe even sign up for classes. You're fired up for about 2 weeks. Then life gets busy, the excitement fades, and suddenly you're back to square one, feeling guilty and telling yourself you'll start again when you feel more motivated. Well, I've got news for you. Motivation is a trap. James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, puts it perfectly. Motivation is what gets you started, but habits are what keep you going. Think about it. You felt motivated on day one when you downloaded Duolingo, but where was that motivation on day 47 when you were tired after work and just wanted to watch Netflix? Motivation is lightning. It's exciting, it's powerful, but it's also brief and unpredictable. You can't build fluency on lightning strikes. You will always fizzle out. We all have finite energy, and our lives are busy. We have work, family, friends, children, travel, etc., etc. Where are we supposed to find the time to become fluent in English? Because we don't have infinite energy, we need to be smart about this. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't wake up every morning feeling motivated to brush your teeth, right? You just do it. It's automatic, it's a habit. And that's exactly what your language practice needs to become. Anne Laure Lecomte is the author of Tiny Experiments. She writes about learning, and she has this beautiful way of explaining it. You are the architect of your learning, not a passenger waiting for inspiration to arrive. An architect, by the way, is someone who designs structures like houses and buildings. If you want to learn more about the vocabulary and expressions I'm using in this episode, you can find definitions and example sentences in the transcript. Link in the description. That word architect really matters here. An architect doesn't wait around hoping a building will magically appear. They design it, they create blueprints, they make deliberate choices about structure and foundation. That's you. You're not a passenger in your language learning journey. You're the architect. And waiting for motivation, that's passenger thinking. We're going to focus on making language learning automatic, and we're not going to build this on motivation or willpower. We're going to build good habits. Here's an example of a poorly designed habit: study more or practice every day. What's the habit of brushing your teeth? I brush my teeth for 2 minutes every morning immediately after I wake up. The difference between these two habits is specificity, meaning how specific they are. The more specific, the better. So let's get specific. I mentioned James Clear before. James Clear is the author of Atomic Habits, a massively popular global best-selling book about how small changes can create big results. And he talks about how to do this with 4 laws or rules. We're going to review those 4 laws today and apply them to your goal of becoming fluent in English. The first law of behavior change, according to James Clear, is make it obvious. If you want to build a new habit, you need to make the cues impossible to miss. What do I mean by cue? A cue is something that starts something else, usually an action. But a cue can start or trigger many things, like thoughts and feelings, for example. One of the best tools for this is something called habit stacking. The idea is simple. You take a habit you already have, something you do every single day without thinking, and you stack your new language habit right on top of it. The formula looks like this. After I, existing habit, I will, new habit. For example, after I pour my morning coffee, I will review 5 flashcards. Or after I sit down at my desk, I will read 1 paragraph in English. Or after I finish lunch, I will listen to a 2-minute English podcast clip. The key is to be specific, not I'll study in the morning. That's too vague. You need to attach it to a specific cue that already happens in your life. Because that cue, the coffee, the desk, the lunch, becomes your trigger. It reminds you to practice without requiring any willpower or memory. Another great way to do this is to let your environment work for you. You want to set up your physical space so that practicing English is inevitable. Here are some examples. Change your phone's display language to English. Yes, it'll be confusing at first, but within a week, you'll have learned dozens of everyday words, settings, notifications, buttons, just from navigating your phone. Post sticky notes with vocabulary on your bathroom mirror. Keep a grammar book on your coffee table instead of hidden on a shelf. Download a browser extension that replaces your new tab page with a daily word in English. These are all environmental cues. They make English visible, which makes practice obvious. Make it obvious, that's number 1. The second law is make it attractive, because let's be honest, if studying feels like a chore, you're not going to do it. You need to find ways to make language practice something you actually look forward to. One powerful strategy is called temptation bundling. This means pairing something you need to do with something you want to do. Here's an example. Let's say you love watching a particular TV show. New rule, you can only watch that show in English. No subtitles in your native language, either English subtitles or no subtitles at all. Suddenly, watching your favorite show becomes practice. You're getting your entertainment and learning at the same time. Or maybe you love true crime podcasts. Great. Find true crime podcasts in English. You're already going to listen to podcasts during your commute. Why not make them serve double duty? Because here's the thing, motivation isn't completely useless, it's just unreliable. But if you're genuinely interested in the content, then you're not relying on willpower, you're relying on curiosity. And curiosity is a much more renewable resource. Make it attractive. That's number 2. The third law is make it easy. And this is where most people mess up. They set these big, ambitious goals. I'm going to study for 2 hours every day. And then they wonder why they can't stick with it. For any new habit, the first step should be embarrassingly small. James Clear has a rule for this. He calls it the 2-minute rule. The idea is that any new habit should take less than 2 minutes to start. So, study English becomes open my Anki app. Practice English pronunciation becomes say one sentence out loud. Improve my listening skills becomes play one podcast episode. You're not committing to the full practice session. You're just committing to starting. And here's the magic. Once you've started, you usually keep going. The hardest part is beginning. So make beginning ridiculously easy. Another key strategy, reduce friction. Friction is anything that makes your habit harder to do. Every extra step between you and your practice is an opportunity to give up. So, what do? You remove those steps. Preload your flashcard app so it opens directly to your deck. Keep your grammar reference book on the coffee table, not on a shelf in another room. Book your classes weeks in advance so you don't have to think about it when you're already tired. So make your habits small, make it easy, make the barrier to entry so low that you have no excuse not to do it. Make it easy. That's number 3. The fourth and final law is make it satisfying. Because here's the truth, if a behavior isn't rewarding, you likely won't repeat it. Our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. So, if language practice feels like punishment, your brain will fight you every step of the way. The problem with language learning is that the big reward, fluency, is so far away. You're not going to be fluent tomorrow or next week or even next month. That distant goal isn't enough to keep your brain motivated on a daily basis. So, you need immediate rewards, small, tangible satisfactions that happen right now. One of the simplest and most effective tools is a habit tracker. Get a calendar. Every day you practice, you put an X on that day. That's it. But here's why it works. You get a visual representation of your progress. You see the chain of X's growing. And after a few weeks, you don't want to break the chain. The act of marking that X becomes satisfying in itself. And Laura Lecomte emphasizes reflection practices. She recommends keeping weekly learning logs where you write down what you learned, what challenged you, and what you want to focus on next. This isn't just busy work, it's a way of showing yourself that you're making progress even when fluency still feels miles away. Because here's the thing, progress in language learning isn't always obvious. Some days you'll feel like you're getting worse, not better. That's normal. But if you have a log that says, 3 weeks ago, I couldn't understand this podcast, and today I caught about 60% of it, that's proof. That's satisfaction. And celebrate small wins. This is crucial. Don't wait until you're fluent to feel good about yourself. Celebrate every tiny milestone. You had a conversation with a native speaker, win. You understood a joke in English, win. You made a mistake and corrected yourself, that's a win too. The more satisfied you feel with your practice, the more likely you are to keep doing it. And the more you keep doing it, the closer you get to fluency. Make it satisfying. That's number 4. So there you have it. The 4 pillars of language learning habits. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, make it satisfying. These aren't just nice ideas, they're the architecture of behavior change. Master these, and you're not hoping for fluency, you're building it one habit at a time. Here's the big idea. The big thing I want you to remember long after this episode ends. Motivation is a spark, but habits are the fuel system. You don't need to feel inspired every day. You need to build a system where learning happens whether you're inspired or not. Some days you'll wake up excited to practice. Great. Other days you'll wake up tired, stressed, frustrated, and not remotely interested in conjugating verbs. Also great because your system doesn't care how you feel. Your habits run on autopilot. That's the secret. That's the difference between people who start learning languages and people who actually become fluent. It's not talent, it's not some magical passion that never fades, it's systems. So here's your challenge, and I really want you to take this seriously. Pick one habit from today's episode and implement it tomorrow. Not 3 habits, not 5, one. Maybe it's habit stacking. After I brush my teeth, I will review 5 flashcards. Maybe it's changing something in your environment. I will change my phone's language to English tonight. Maybe it's temptation bundling. I will only watch my favorite show in English from now on. One habit, that's it. Because one habit that sticks is infinitely more valuable than 10 habits that last 3 days. Build that one habit until it's automatic. Then, in a few weeks, add another one, then another one. That's how you build a system. Slowly, patiently, deliberately. Build the system, fluency will follow. All right, that's it for today's episode. I want to hear from you. What's one habit you're going to implement after listening to this? Let me know because I love seeing what resonates with people. And if you found this helpful, share it with someone who's learning a language because we're all in this together, one habit at a time. Keep learning, keep building, and remember, you're not trying to become fluent, you're building a system that makes fluency inevitable. Until next time, bye.